It's 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night, exactly 1 week before my wedding, and I'm sitting completely alone in my kitchen with every single light in the apartment turned off. The only source of illumination comes from my laptop screen, casting this eerie blue glow across my face that makes me look like some kind of ghost. My hands are shaking so violently that I've had to retype the same sentence 4 times now. The email draft stares back at me from the screen. To Diane Richardson, Sophia Richardson. Subject: You are not invited. Body: blank. I can't make myself type the actual words yet. Because once I send this email, once I actually go through with this, there's no taking it back. There's no undoing it. I will have officially done something that most people would consider absolutely unthinkable. I will have uninvited my own mother and my own sister from my wedding. Let me ask you something, and I need you to really think about this. Am I the asshole for uninviting my mother and sister from what's supposed to be the happiest day of my life? Not because they forgot to RSVP. Not because of some stupid argument about bridesmaid dresses or seating arrangements. But because 2 weeks ago, I discovered the truth about how my father really died. My mother is a murderer. I know how that sounds. Trust me, I know. If someone had told me 3 weeks ago that I'd be sitting here writing this email, I would have laughed in their face. Or maybe I would have cried. Probably both. But here's what I've learned about toxic families. They don't destroy you all at once. They do it slowly, like carbon monoxide poisoning. By the time you realize you can't breathe, you've already forgotten what oxygen feels like. Let me back up and tell you how I got here. 2 weeks earlier. Thursday evening, 5:47 p.m. Jake, I swear to God, if this caterer screws up the tasting menu one more time, I am going to lose my mind, I said, staring at my phone with frustration building in my chest. My fiancé laughed, and the sound was warm and genuine in a way that immediately made me feel a little bit better despite the wedding planning stress. He walked up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist, pulling me close against his chest. Babe, he said softly, his breath warm against my ear. You need to breathe. Just for like 2 seconds. Everything's gonna be perfect because you've been planning this thing for 6 months straight. We've got this. I let myself lean back into him, feeling the solid warmth of his body, letting it ground me. We were standing on the rooftop terrace of the Riverview venue in downtown Portland, and the sunset was doing that magical thing where the entire sky looks like it's on fire with oranges and pinks and purples. The Willamette River below was reflecting all those colors back up at us, and honestly, it was so beautiful it almost hurt to look at. He was right. He's almost always right, which is simultaneously endearing and annoying. The engagement party was exactly 2 weeks away. 180 people had confirmed they were coming. The venue was gorgeous. The playlist was perfect. We'd spent 3 weeks arguing about whether September by Earth, Wind, and Fire was too cliché. It is, but we're including it anyway because it's a banger. My dress, this simple cream silk number that made me feel like an actual princess, was hanging safely in my closet at home. For once in my life, something was actually going according to plan. Then my phone buzzed in my hand. Mom. Sweetheart, call me ASAP. Family emergency. My stomach dropped like I was on a roller coaster. My whole body tensed up immediately, and Jake felt it because he knows me better than anyone. What's wrong? He asked, concern flooding his voice. Mom, I said, and that was all I needed to say. He understood immediately. She says it's a family emergency. His expression shifted into something more guarded. Want me to come with you to make the call? No, I got it, I said, already pulling away from his embrace even though everything in me wanted to stay right there where it was safe. It's probably nothing. You know how she is. But here's the thing. I do know how she is. I know exactly how Diane Richardson operates. I've had 32 years of experience. And that's precisely why my hands were already shaking as I walked away from Jake to find a quiet corner of the terrace to make this call. With my mother, a family emergency could mean literally anything. It could mean she broke a nail and needs sympathy. It could mean someone is dying in a hospital. There's no way to predict. I took a deep breath and called her back. I ended up sitting in my car in the parking lot to take the call, because some part of me knew I was going to need either privacy or an escape route. Maybe both. She answered on the second ring, which is never a good sign. Mom only answers immediately when she wants something. Emma! Her voice had that particular quality of sweetness that makes my teeth hurt. Thank God you called me back. I need you to do something for your sister. Not, hi, how are you? Not, how's the wedding planning? Just straight into what she needed from me. Classic. Hi, Mom, I said carefully, trying to keep my voice neutral. I'm kind of in the middle of something at the venue right now, but you said it was an emergency. Sophia just got promoted to Senior Marketing Director at Cascade Media, she interrupted, and there was this triumphant note in her voice like she'd personally made it happen through sheer force of will. I waited for her to say something like, "Isn't that wonderful?" or, "We're so proud of her." But she didn't. She just let that statement hang there in the air between us, like I was supposed to immediately understand what was coming next. Spoiler alert, I did understand. I just didn't want to believe it yet. Oh, I said, treading carefully. That's really great, Mom. Tell Sophia I said congratulations. This is huge, Emma, she said, and the triumph in her voice got even stronger. This is so much bigger than your little party. And there it was. My little party. The engagement party I'd been planning for 6 months. The party that was costing me and Jake close to $10,000, money we'd been saving for our honeymoon to Italy. The party where 180 people were coming to celebrate with us. My little party. Mom, this isn't a little party, I said, and I could hear my own voice getting tighter, more controlled. Jake and I have been planning this for months. We've already confirmed with everyone. I already talked to the venue, she said, cutting me off. My blood turned to ice. What? The Riverview. I called them this morning while you were at work. They're wonderful people, by the way. That coordinator Michelle is so accommodating. Anyway, they can do Sophia's celebration the same weekend. Same Saturday. You just need to push your party back 2 weeks. They had a cancellation for the 28th, so it works out perfectly. I was gripping my steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My brain was actively struggling to process what I was hearing because it was so outrageous, so beyond the bounds of normal behavior. Hold on, I said slowly, deliberately. Let me make sure I understand this. You called my venue? About my engagement party? Without asking me first? Oh, don't be so dramatic, Emma. I could practically hear her rolling her eyes. You're the older sister. You've always been the responsible one, the mature one. Sophia really needs this moment to shine. She's worked so hard for this promotion. And you? Well, you and Jake can get engaged anytime. You've been living together for 3 years already. What's 2 more weeks going to matter? I felt like I was underwater. Like the words were reaching me, but they were distorted, and I couldn't quite process them. Mom, Sophia's been working toward this her entire career, she continued, steamrolling right over me. This is a defining moment for her. A real achievement. You, of all people, should understand the importance of celebrating accomplishments. You're a nurse, for Christ's sake. You spend your whole life putting other people's needs first. Surely you can do the same for your own sister. And there it was. The guilt trip, the manipulation, the implication that if I didn't give up my engagement party for my sister's work celebration, I was selfish. I've heard this song before. I know all the words. I'm hanging up now, I said quietly. Emma Richardson, don't you dare hang up on your own mother. I ended the call. Then I just sat there in my car, surrounded by other people's vehicles, watching other happy couples walk toward the venue to plan their celebrations, and I felt like I might throw up. My phone buzzed with a text. Mom, you're being incredibly selfish. I raised you better than this. Call me back so we can discuss this like adults. I didn't respond. I just drove home on autopilot, my mind a mess of thoughts I couldn't untangle. When I got to our apartment, Jake took one look at my face and immediately started making tea without asking what happened. Because he's a better person than anyone in my blood family has ever been. Here's what you need to understand about my family. There have always been two very clearly defined roles. Sophia was the sun, bright, warm, the center of everything. I was the stage crew, invisible, working behind the scenes, only noticed when something went wrong. I figured this out when I was 8 years old. It was my piano recital. I'd been practicing Beethoven's Für Elise for 3 solid months, every day after school, until my fingers could play it in my sleep. My teacher, Mrs. Patterson, told me I was a natural. My dad said he couldn't wait to see me perform. My mom said she'd try to make it if she wasn't too tired. I should have known then. I remember standing backstage in my white dress, the one Dad bought me special, with little flowers embroidered on the collar, waiting for my name to be called. I remember peeking through the curtains and seeing Dad in the 3rd row, giving me a thumbs up. And I remember seeing Mom next to him, staring at her phone, her thumbs typing away. When my name was called, I walked out onto that stage with my heart pounding so hard I could hear it. I sat down at the piano, positioned my hands exactly how Mrs. Patterson taught me, and I played. I played perfectly. Every single note was right. Every crescendo, every decrescendo, every delicate trill. All of it was flawless. When I finished, people clapped. Dad stood up, still clapping, trying to catch my eye to give me another thumbs up. Mom glanced up from her phone for maybe 5 seconds, gave me this tight smile, and then immediately went back to typing. After the recital, I ran up to my parents, still buzzing with excitement. Did you hear me? Did you see? Mrs. Patterson said I was one of the best. Awesome. Mom reached past me and grabbed my 6-year-old sister Sophia, pulling her into a hug. You were such a good girl sitting through that whole boring concert, baby. I know it was so hard for you. You must be exhausted. Let's go get ice cream, okay? You deserve a treat for being so patient. I stood there in my white dress, holding my participation certificate, and watched my mother walk away with my sister without looking back at me once. Dad squeezed my shoulder. You were amazing, sweetheart. Can we get ice cream too? I asked, my voice small. Of course we can, he said, taking my hand. We went to Baskin-Robbins, just the two of us. Mom and Sophia went to Cold Stone, the fancy place. Dad let me get a double scoop and told me I was the most talented kid he'd ever seen. That was the first time I learned to be grateful for scraps. Let me give you more examples, because this pattern repeated itself over and over for my entire childhood. Sophia's high school graduation. Mom threw a massive party. She rented a huge white tent for the backyard. She hired caterers. She made a slideshow with professional transitions and orchestral music. She invited 100 people. There was champagne and a 3-tier cake and a banner that said, "Congratulations, Sophia," in glittering gold letters. My college graduation. I graduated summa cum laude from nursing school. 4 years of brutal studying and clinical rotations, and working 2 jobs to help cover expenses. I finished in the top 2% of my class. Mom had a migraine and couldn't make it to my graduation ceremony. She texted me at 11:47 a.m., 13 minutes before the ceremony started. The text said, "Congrats, honey," 1 emoji. That's what 4 years of killing myself was worth. Dad came, though. Dad was there, taking pictures with his old camera that he never quite figured out how to use. So most of the photos came out blurry. But I kept every single one. Sophia's first serious boyfriend, his name was Tyler. He was boring, worked in tech, drove a Tesla, the Portland stereotype. But Mom acted like Sophia had brought home royalty. She insisted on having them over for family dinner. She made her famous pot roast. She asked Tyler a million questions about his job, his family, his intentions. She took hundreds of photos. She posted them on Facebook with the caption, "My baby girl is all grown up and so in love." My engagement to Jake. I called Mom, my heart racing because even at 30 years old, some pathetic part of me still wanted her approval. "Mom, I have news. Jake proposed. We're engaged." There was a pause. A long pause. Long enough that I checked my phone to make sure the call hadn't dropped. Then, "Oh, that's nice, honey." That's nice. Not congratulations. Not "I'm so happy for you." Not even a follow-up question. Just, "Oh, that's nice, honey," in the same tone she might use if I'd told her I bought a new blender. Joel, present day, the night of the phone call, around 1 a.m. Jake found me sitting on the bathroom floor at 1 in the morning, scrolling through old photos on my phone, tears streaming down my face. There was one from Dad's funeral, 7 years ago now, but it still makes my chest hurt. In the photo, I'm standing by his casket, my face blotchy from crying, mascara running down my cheeks. And in the background, about 10 feet away, you can see Mom with her arm around Sophia. I'm crying alone in every single photo from that day. "Em?" Jake sat down on the cold tile next to me. "Talk to me." Am I crazy? The words came out broken. Like, am I remembering things wrong? Was she always like this, or am I just being too sensitive like she always says? "You're not crazy," he said firmly, taking my phone and setting it aside. "Your mom has issues. Serious issues that have nothing to do with you and everything to do with her." But why Sophia? Why does she get to be the favorite? What did I do wrong? He pulled me into his chest and I cried into his shirt for 20 minutes straight. Ugly crying. The kind where you can't catch your breath. When I finally stopped, he said something that changed everything. "You didn't do anything wrong. You just had the audacity to be your own person. And narcissists can't handle that." Narcissist. That was the first time either of us had actually said it out loud. "My mom's a narcissist," I whispered, testing the words. "Yeah, baby," Jake said softly. "I think she is." And something in me just broke open. Not in a bad way. In the way a locked door finally breaks when you've been throwing yourself against it for years. All those times I thought it was me. All those times I thought I was too sensitive, too needy, too dramatic. All those times I apologized for wanting basic human decency from my own mother. It wasn't me. It was never me. The next morning, Friday, 7:23 a.m. I woke up to my phone buzzing like crazy. Not just a few messages. It sounded like my phone was having a seizure. I grabbed it with bleary eyes. The screen was covered in notifications. 47 text messages. And they weren't good morning texts. They were all about my apparently failed relationship. Aunt Patricia, 6:47 a.m. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry to hear about you and Jake. These things happen, but don't lose hope. Couples therapy can work wonders. My friend Susan and her husband went through a rough patch and they're stronger than ever now. Don't give up. Cousin David, 6:52 a.m. Yo, Em, just heard about the breakup. That sucks, dude. You okay? Want to grab beers this weekend?" Uncle Tom, 7:01 a.m. Sorry to hear about your troubles, kiddo. Relationships are hard. These things happen. There's plenty of fish in the sea. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My hands started shaking as I scrolled through message after message, all expressing sympathy for a breakup that never happened. Jake! I shook him awake, probably rougher than I should have. Jake, what the fuck is happening? He was up immediately, in full ER nurse mode. What? Are you hurt? I shoved my phone in his face. Why is everyone texting me about our breakup? Our what? He took the phone, squinting at the screen. What breakup? We're not broken up. What the hell? I was already scrambling out of bed, grabbing my laptop, navigating to Facebook with shaking hands. I pulled up the Richardson family group, the Facebook group with 35 of my relatives, usually just minion memes and prayer requests. And there it was, posted at 11:47 p.m. last night, exactly 20 minutes after I hung up on her. Diane Richardson. Heartbreaking news, family. Emma and Jake are going through an incredibly rough patch. The engagement party this Saturday is canceled. Please respect their privacy during this difficult time. Posted at 11:47 p.m. 43 people had already seen it. 15 reactions with sad faces. And then, 2 minutes later, Diane Richardson. Good news! Sophia's promotion party is now at the Riverview rooftop. Saturday, 6 p.m. Let's celebrate our rising star. RSVP in comments. Posted at 11:49 p.m. 62 people had seen it. 28 reactions with hearts. The comments were already flooding in. Congratulations, Sophia. So proud. We'll be there. Wouldn't miss it. What an amazing accomplishment. So sorry about Emma, though. Sending prayers. I stared at my laptop screen like it was a bomb about to go off. She didn't, Jake said slowly, reading over my shoulder. She did. She told your entire family we broke up. Yep. And that your party is canceled. Uh-huh. And then stole your venue for Sophia. That's the one. Jake took a very deep breath. I could see him physically restraining himself from saying what he really wanted to say about my mother. Okay, he finally said. What do you want to do? What did I want to do? I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to Mom's house and set her decorative pillows on fire. I wanted to post in that group and tell everyone what kind of person Diane Richardson really is. But instead, I said, I want to talk to Aunt Patricia. 2 hours later, Aunt Patricia's cottage. Patricia lives an hour outside Portland in this adorable cottage that always smells like bread and lavender. She's Dad's younger sister, the only person who ever challenged Mom openly. When I showed up at her door at 9:30 a.m., looking like I hadn't slept in a week, she took one look at my face and said, "Get in here right now." 10 minutes later, we were sitting in her kitchen with enormous coffee mugs, and I was crying for what felt like the 100th time in 12 hours. I don't understand, I sobbed. Why does she hate me so much? What did I ever do? I've spent my whole life trying to be good enough, and it's never enough. It's never going to be enough, is it? Patricia sighed deeply, the kind of sigh that sounds like someone's been carrying a heavy weight for a long time. Emma, I need to show you something, she said quietly. Something I should have shown you years ago. She disappeared and came back with a wooden box. After your dad died, your mother wanted to throw everything away. Said it was too painful. But I couldn't let her. So I took some boxes. She opened the box. Inside were journals, leather-bound notebooks with dates on the spines in Dad's handwriting. 2015. The last one was dated 3 months before he died. Your father saw what Diane was doing to you, Patricia said softly. He documented everything. My hands were shaking as I picked up the journal marked 2012, the year I turned 16, June 14th, 2012. Emma's 16th birthday. Diane forgot Emma's birthday again. When I reminded her, she snapped at me. She's 16, not 6. She doesn't need a party. But last year, Sophia's 14th had a bouncy castle, and I bought Emma a cake. We ate it in my car. She cried and made me promise not to tell Diane she was upset. She's learning her pain doesn't matter. I hate myself. I couldn't breathe. Patricia flipped to more entries. November 3rd, 2013. Diane called Emma too sensitive for crying at a movie. Then spent an hour comforting Sophia over a B+ test. March 22nd, 2014. Emma made Dean's list. Diane said, "That's nice." Started a separate savings account today. I'm going to make sure Emma has what she needs. Then the final entry. January 9th, 2015. 3 weeks before his heart attack. January 9th, 2015. I've saved $47,000 for Emma. It's in an account at Columbia Bank under just my name. When she's ready to leave Diane's toxicity, she'll have this. I need to protect her, even if it means going against my wife. The entry just stopped, like he got interrupted. He had $47,000 saved for you, Patricia said quietly. Diane found it after he died. She told me she'd hold on to it until you were mature enough. Where is it now? Her face told me everything. She spent it on Sophia's master's degree. The coffee mug slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. My father saved money for me, saw what Mom was doing, tried to protect me, and she stole it. She found it after he died and gave it to Sophia. He died thinking I'd find that money someday. I think I screamed. Everything went fuzzy. Patricia's arms were around me, and then Jake was there too. He must have followed me, and he was kneeling on the floor in the broken ceramic and coffee, just holding me while I completely fell apart. The next morning, Saturday, Target parking lot, 10:15 a.m. I was sitting in my car with the engine off, staring at my phone like it was a weapon I wasn't sure I knew how to use. My palms were sweating so badly that I had to wipe them on my jeans twice before I could even think about making this call. Oregon is a one-party consent state for recording phone conversations. I'd Googled this fact approximately 7 times in the last hour, reading and rereading the statute to make absolutely certain I understood it correctly. As long as I was part of the conversation, I could legally record it without telling the other person. I needed evidence. Real, undeniable, irrefutable evidence that my mother was exactly what I was beginning to understand she was. Because right now, it was just my word against hers, and in the court of family opinion, she'd been building her credibility for 32 years while I'd been labeled too sensitive and dramatic. I opened the voice recording app on my phone, took 3 deep breaths that didn't do much to calm my racing heart, hit the record button, and then immediately called my mother. She picked up on the second ring. Emma. Her voice was cold, clipped, annoyed. Have you come to your senses yet? Not hello. Not how are you feeling. Just straight to whether I'd capitulated to her demands. Hi, Mom, I said, forcing my voice to stay calm and even. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about Saturday, about the party situation. Oh, thank God. The relief in her voice was immediate and palpable, and I could practically hear her smiling through the phone, that victorious smile of someone who's gotten exactly what they wanted. I knew you'd see reason eventually. You're my good girl, Emma. You've always been my good girl, even when you're being difficult. The condescension in her tone made my stomach turn, but I forced myself to stay calm, to keep my voice neutral. I needed her to keep talking. I just want to understand something, I said carefully, slowly. Can you help me understand why Sophia's promotion is more important than my engagement? Oh, sweetheart. She sighed like I was a small child asking why the sky was blue. Sophia is special, Emma. Do you understand what it means to be promoted to senior marketing director at 28 years old? Do you have any idea how rare that is? How exceptional you have to be? This is a career-defining moment for her. This is her entire future we're talking about. And getting married isn't a life-defining moment for me? I asked, keeping my voice soft, curious rather than confrontational. Well, honey, let's be realistic here for a moment, Mom said, and I could hear her settling into lecture mode. You and Jake have been living together for 3 years already. You're basically already married in everything but name at this point. What's a piece of paper and a party really going to change? You'll still wake up next to him the next morning. You'll still have the same life you have right now. I was gripping the steering wheel with my free hand so tightly that my knuckles had turned completely white, but I kept my voice level. So my relationship doesn't matter as much because we've been together for a while. Is that what you're saying? Don't twist my words around, Emma. That's not what I'm saying at all. Her voice took on that sharp edge it always got when she felt challenged. I'm saying that Sophia needs this spotlight right now. She's worked incredibly hard to get where she is. And you? She paused, and I could almost see her choosing her words carefully. You've always been fine without a lot of attention, haven't you? You never needed the big birthday parties or all the fuss and celebration. You were always my easy one, my low-maintenance daughter. Easy. Low maintenance. Translation: the daughter who learned early on that asking for anything was pointless, so she stopped asking. What do you think Dad would say about all this? I asked quietly. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When she spoke again, her voice had changed, gone from condescending sweet to something much colder, much harder. Your father, she said slowly, deliberately, spoiled you absolutely rotten, Emma. He babied you constantly. He made you think you were special and important when really, if we're being completely honest here, you're just ordinary. You're a good person, don't get me wrong. You're a perfectly adequate nurse. You do your job well enough. But Sophia? Sophia is the special one. She's exceptional. She always has been, and she always will be. I felt like I'd been physically slapped. Even though I should have been used to this by now, even though I'd heard variations of this my entire life, it still hit like a blow. You know what your real problem is? Mom continued, and now there was a definite edge to her voice, sharp and cutting. You're just like your father was, weak, overly sensitive, always making everything about feelings and emotions instead of just being practical and dealing with reality like an adult. Dad's dead, Mom, I said, my voice flat and emotionless. And thank God for that. Everything stopped. The entire world seemed to freeze around me. What did you just say? I whispered. You heard me perfectly well, Emma. I'm not going to repeat myself. Her voice was matter-of-fact now, like she was commenting on the weather or the traffic. Robert held this family back for years and years. Always defending you, always trying to make me feel guilty about how I treated my own daughters differently. Like he somehow knew better than me how to raise the children that I actually gave birth to. He was absolutely exhausting to live with. Constantly telling me I was being too hard on you, too easy on Sophia. Like he had any right to question my parenting after I did all the actual work of raising you both. I thought I might actually be physically sick. I could feel bile rising in my throat. You want to know something? Her voice dropped lower, became almost conspiratorial, like she was sharing a secret with a trusted friend. When the doctor came out of that emergency room and told me that your father's heart attack was fatal, that there was absolutely nothing they could do to save him. Do you know what I felt in that moment? I couldn't speak. I literally could not make words come out of my mouth. I felt relieved, Emma. Genuinely, truly relieved. No more Mr. Sensitive constantly questioning every decision I made. No more Emma deserves this or Emma worked so hard for that. No more walking on eggshells around his feelings all the time. It's honestly been so much better, so much easier, so much more peaceful without him around to interfere. Tears were streaming down my face now, but I was absolutely silent. I needed her to keep talking. I needed every word of this on the recording. So yes, Mom continued, her voice taking on that commanding tone she used when she expected to be obeyed. You are going to cancel your little party this weekend. You're going to do it gracefully and without any drama or complaint, because I'm your mother and you will do what I tell you to do. Do you understand me, Emma? You're a monster, I whispered, my voice barely audible. I'm your mother, she snapped, suddenly angry. And you're going to show me the respect I deserve as the woman who gave you life, or there will be consequences. Do you understand? I hung up. My hands were shaking so violently that I nearly dropped the phone. I immediately stopped the recording and then, with trembling fingers that could barely hit the right buttons, I emailed the audio file to 3 different addresses. My own personal email, Jake's email, and Patricia's email. 3 backup copies. 3 pieces of insurance that this recording would never ever be lost or destroyed. Because people needed to hear this. People needed to know what Diane Richardson really was when there was nobody around to witness her behavior, when she thought she was safe to say whatever she wanted. Monday afternoon. 2 p.m. Starbucks on Northwest 23rd. I'd asked Sophia to meet me for coffee. Neutral territory. A public place where neither of us was likely to make a huge scene that would draw attention. She showed up at 2:23, 23 minutes late. Not that I was surprised by her complete lack of consideration for my time, wearing what was clearly a very expensive designer power suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent payment. Her eyes were glued to her phone screen as she walked through the door, her thumbs moving rapidly as she typed something. She didn't apologize for being late. She didn't even acknowledge that she was late. She just got in line, ordered a venti caramel macchiato with extra caramel and extra whipped cream, and then sat down across from me at the small corner table where I'd been waiting, still not looking up from her phone screen. So? She said after a moment, her thumbs still moving across her screen. What's so urgent that you needed to see me in person? I'm really busy with the new position, Emma, so this better actually be important. I needed to be strategic here. Sophia wasn't like Mom. She wasn't a narcissist in the same calculated, controlled way that Mom was. Sophia was competitive, desperately insecure underneath all the bravado, always needing to prove herself, always needing to win, always needing constant validation that she was the successful one, the better one. I could use that. I talked to Bradley Peterson yesterday, I said casually, taking a sip of my coffee like this was just a normal, friendly conversation. Her fingers stopped moving mid-type, just for a second, barely noticeable if you weren't watching for it, but they definitely froze. Who? She asked, still not looking up, trying to sound disinterested. Bradley Peterson, your colleague at Cascade Media. Well, I guess he's your subordinate now, technically, since you got that big promotion. Okay. She finally set her phone down on the table and made eye contact with me, her expression carefully neutral. What about him? He told me some really interesting things about your promotion, I said, watching her face carefully. About the campaign that got you promoted, actually. I could see her jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. Like what? Like how the Cascade Media rebranding campaign, you know, the one that apparently showcased your innovative strategic thinking and creative vision and exceptional marketing skills, wasn't actually yours at all. That's complete bullshit, she said. But her voice came out a little too sharp, a little too defensive, a little too quick. Bradley is just jealous because I got promoted over him. He's been trying to undermine me ever since. He showed me the evidence, Sophia, I interrupted, leaning forward slightly. Email timestamps showing exactly when he sent you the drafts. file metadata proving that he created every single document, every presentation slide, every strategic recommendation. Everything. He has documentation of the entire thing. Her face had gone noticeably pale beneath her carefully applied makeup. He's lying. He's making it all up because… Is he? I asked, keeping my voice calm and curious. Because he seemed pretty confident when he told me he was planning to go to HR next week with all of it. He seemed very prepared. Sophia's carefully maintained composure cracked. She leaned forward across the table, her voice dropping to an angry, venomous hiss. You want the truth, Emma? Fine. Yeah, I used his work. So fucking what? That's how the game works in the real world of business. That's how you get ahead and move up. You're just too naive and idealistic to understand how things actually operate in a competitive corporate environment. There it was, the admission I needed. But I wasn't done yet. I pushed further. Mom helped you get that promotion, didn't she? I said, watching her reaction. Her eyes flashed with something. Triumph, maybe, or vindication. Or maybe just the satisfaction of finally being able to rub it in my face. At least Mom loves me enough to actually help me succeed in life. Unlike how Dad just threw pity money at you your whole life and made you think you were special when you weren't. My chest constricted painfully, but I kept my voice steady. What pity money? She actually smirked. Actually smirked at me like she was enjoying this. Oh, you didn't know about that? Mom told me years ago that Dad had money set aside. Just for you. Not for me. $47,000 in some secret account for his precious, perfect Emma, who could do no wrong in his eyes. And? I forced the word out past the lump in my throat. And we made a deal. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms, looking almost proud of herself. I help her manage you. Keep you in line, keep you from causing problems or making waves or demanding too much attention. And I get my share of the money. $23,500 paid for my master's degree at Northwestern. The other half is sitting in an account earning interest until I decide to get married and need it for my wedding. The entire coffee shop seemed to tilt around me. You've been working with Mom? Against me? This entire time? For years? Oh, don't play the victim, Emma. It's so fucking tired and pathetic. She rolled her eyes dramatically. You got Dad and all his attention and coddling. I got Mom. We each got what we deserved based on who we actually are as people. If you weren't so pathetically needy and demanding all the time, maybe Mom would actually like you. She stood up, grabbing her expensive coffee cup. Is that all? Because I actually have important work to do, unlike some people. Did you send someone to hit on Jake? The question came out before I could stop myself, before I could think about whether I really wanted to know the answer. Sophia froze halfway to standing up. Slowly, very slowly, she turned back to look at me, and the smile that spread across her face was absolutely chilling. Oh yeah, that? She sat back down, suddenly looking almost gleeful, like she was enjoying a private joke. 3 weeks ago, right? At his gym? That athletic blonde woman who came on to him? My heart was pounding. You admit it? Why wouldn't I admit it? It was actually Mom's idea originally. We just wanted to make sure he was really, genuinely committed to you, that he wasn't going to bail when things got difficult or complicated. We wanted to test the strength of your relationship. She made air quotes around the word test. Turns out he's boringly, frustratingly, annoyingly loyal to you. Congratulations, I guess. You somehow managed to find the one decent guy in all of Portland. You tried to sabotage my relationship, I said, more to myself than to her, still trying to process what I was hearing. We tried to test your relationship, she corrected, standing up again and slinging her designer purse over her shoulder. There's a significant difference, Emma. And here's another fun little secret, since we're apparently being completely honest with each other now. I didn't respond. I couldn't. That promotion Mom helped me get? It's actually probationary. I have exactly 3 months to lead a successful major campaign, or I'm out of the position. But you know what? I don't even really care anymore, because watching you finally squirm, watching you finally realize that you've never actually mattered in this family and you never will, that's worth more to me than any job could ever be. She leaned down close to my ear and whispered, her voice cold and cruel. You don't deserve happiness, Emma. You never did. And deep down, in the part of yourself you don't want to look at, you know that's true. Then she turned and walked out of the Starbucks, leaving me sitting alone at the table with my cold coffee and the absolutely devastating realization that my own sister, my own flesh and blood, had been actively, deliberately working against me for years. I sat there for probably 10 full minutes, just staring at nothing, my mind trying and failing to process everything I'd just heard, before I finally pulled out my phone and texted Jake. We need to talk. Right now. Emergency. That evening. Our apartment. 7:30 p.m. Jake was pacing back and forth across our living room like a caged animal. And I'd genuinely never seen him this angry before. Not just frustrated or annoyed, but genuinely, deeply furious in a way that was almost scary. She sent someone to test you? His voice was tight and controlled in that particular way that meant he was barely keeping himself from shouting. They actually hired some woman to try to get you to cheat on me? That's actually psychotic behavior. That's legitimately, clinically concerning. I know, I said quietly. And Sophia just admitted it? To your face? Like it was something to be proud of? Yep. She seemed almost happy about it. And they stole your dad's money. The money he specifically saved for you. And just split it between them like it was some kind of... He stopped, ran both hands through his hair in frustration. This is beyond normal family drama, Em. This is fraud. This is emotional abuse. This is... Jake, I interrupted him gently. I need you to focus for a second. I can't fight them alone. I tried that my whole life and it never worked. I need help. I need allies who will stand with me. He stopped pacing and sat down next to me on the couch, taking my hands in his. You're not alone. You have me. You have Patricia. You have Olivia. We're all with you, whatever you need. I need more than that, I said, pulling up LinkedIn on my laptop. I need to prove that Sophia is a fraud, that she stole credit for Bradley's work. Because if I can prove that, if I can show everyone that she's not the golden child genius Mom has been telling everyone she is. I found Bradley Peterson's profile and clicked on the message button. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a moment before I started typing. Hi, Bradley. I'm Sophia's sister, Emma. I know this is a strange request, but could we meet to discuss her promotion? I think we might be able to help each other. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. He responded within 45 minutes. Sure. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., same Starbucks where you met Sophia. I'll bring all my documentation. Tuesday, 2 p.m., meeting with Bradley. Bradley Peterson turned out to be in his early 30s, slightly nerdy-looking in an endearing sort of way, wearing a Cascade Media polo shirt and glasses that kept sliding down his nose. He looked nervous when I sat down across from him, clutching a manila folder like it was a lifeline. Thanks for agreeing to meet with me, I said. Yeah, of course, he said, pushing his glasses back up. So, what exactly did you want to talk about regarding Sophia? How much do you know about my relationship with my sister? I asked. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Not much, honestly. Just that she mentioned you a few times over the years. Usually in the context of how you were, less successful than her. How you'd made different choices in life. Of course she did. Here's the situation, I said, deciding to just be completely direct. Sophia has been treating me like garbage my entire life, with the full support and encouragement of our narcissistic mother. I'm trying to figure out if Sophia is actually as brilliant and talented as they both constantly claim she is, or if it's all just smoke and mirrors. Bradley's expression changed, shifted from nervous to something almost eager. Oh, it's definitely smoke and mirrors. 100%. Can you prove that? I asked. He slid the manila folder across the table to me. The Cascade Media rebranding campaign, the one that got her promoted to senior director, that was entirely, completely my work. I spent 6 months developing the comprehensive strategy, the messaging framework, the visual identity system, every single piece of it. I opened the folder. Inside were printed copies of emails with clear timestamps, showing Bradley sending completed work to Sophia, file metadata showing creation dates and modification history. Original strategy documents with Bradley's name clearly visible in the document properties. This is incredibly damning, I said quietly, looking through the evidence. I know, he said, and he actually looked relieved to finally be talking about this with someone. She was supposed to be overseeing the project, providing strategic guidance and feedback. Instead, she took my final presentation deck, systematically deleted my name from every single slide, put her name on it instead, and presented it to the CEO like she'd personally done all the work herself. Did you say anything to anyone? I asked. His laugh was bitter. Say anything to who? She's the CEO's golfing buddy's daughter. I'm just some nobody from Beaverton who's lucky to even have this job in the first place. Who's going to believe me over her? What if I told you I could make sure people believe you? His eyes actually lit up with something like hope. I'm listening. Sophia told me yesterday that her promotion is probationary, 3 months to prove herself with a major campaign. Yeah, she has to lead the Q2 integrated marketing campaign. If it fails or significantly underperforms, she's out of the position. And without you actively helping her and covering for her mistakes, how likely is that campaign to succeed? He grinned, a slow, satisfied grin. Let me put it this way. Yesterday, she asked me to explain what Nielsen ratings are and how to interpret them. For the 3rd time. She has absolutely no idea what she's actually doing in that role. So what if you just stopped covering for her? Let her fail on her own actual merits? I've already started doing exactly that, he said, and he looked genuinely happy about it. Last week, she asked me to just draft something quick for an important client presentation. I told her I was too busy with my own assigned projects. You should have seen her face. Pure panic. Bradley, you're officially my new favorite person, I said. Your sister is the absolute worst kind of corporate climber, he said, closing the folder. She steps on people and uses them and then pretends she climbed the ladder entirely on her own merit and hard work. I'm more than happy to help take her down. Friday, the day before the engagement party. I'd been very, very busy. Patricia had sent out a carefully worded email to the entire Richardson family yesterday. Not to the Facebook group where Mom controlled the narrative, but individual emails to everyone's personal addresses. The email contained selected excerpts from Dad's journals. Not everything, just enough. The entries about forgotten birthdays and blatant double standards and how much it broke his heart to watch what was happening to me. The family group chat had been absolute chaos for the last 24 hours straight. I always suspected something wasn't quite right in that house. This can't be real. Robert would never write things like this. Diane, you need to explain this immediately. I remember Emma's 16th birthday. We all thought it was strange there was no celebration. Mom hadn't responded to a single message. Radio silence. I'd also hired professional security for tomorrow's party. 2 guys who did event security for a living. I'd briefed them thoroughly on the situation, showed them photos of Mom and Sophia. They'd be there ostensibly to ensure everyone stays safe and comfortable. But really, they were there to escort Mom out if she showed up and started causing problems. Olivia, my best friend, who also happened to be a professional photographer, had enthusiastically agreed to document absolutely everything tomorrow. Every moment, every reaction, every detail. Jake's family, His parents, Dave and Linda, his sister Rachel, and her husband Tom, their 3 kids, were all coming early tomorrow to help set up and provide moral support. They were genuinely normal, functional people who actually seemed to like each other and communicate without manipulation or hidden agendas. It was honestly kind of wild to witness. And I had the recording of Mom saying she was relieved when Dad died. That was my nuclear option. The weapon I would only deploy if I absolutely had to. Jake found me sitting on our bed, just staring at my dress hanging on the closet door. "You ready for tomorrow?" he asked gently. "No. Yes. Maybe. I honestly don't know." I turned to look at him. Am I doing the right thing here? Is this justice or is this just revenge? Am I being vindictive and cruel? He sat down next to me and took my face in his hands, forcing me to look directly into his eyes. "Em, listen to me very carefully. Your mother has literally stolen from you. Actual money your father saved specifically for you. She's lied to your entire family about your relationship status to manipulate a situation. She's actively tried to sabotage your engagement. She's emotionally and psychologically abused you for 32 years straight. You're not being vindictive. You're standing up for yourself, probably for the very first time in your entire life. What if it all completely blows up in my face? What if everyone ends up thinking I'm the crazy one, the problem, the villain?" "Then they were never really your family anyway," he said firmly. "You've got me. You've got Patricia. You've got Olivia and my family and everyone else who actually loves you for who you really are, not for how well you perform the role they've assigned you." "I'm so scared," I whispered. "I know you are, baby, but I'm going to be right there with you the entire time. I promise." Kawasecha. Benin. Saturday. Engagement party day. Riverview rooftop. 4 p.m. I arrived at the venue early with Jake, Olivia, and Patricia. The riverview was exactly as beautiful as I remembered it from our initial visit. Gorgeous floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river, exposed brick walls, industrial chic lighting fixtures, and it was split directly down the middle like some kind of bizarre social experiment. Left side, my party. Elegant white and gold decorations, simple and tasteful. Delicate string lights creating a warm glow. A beautiful champagne tower. Photos of Jake and me scattered artfully on tables. Hiking together in the Columbia River Gorge, laughing on the beach, cooking dinner together in our tiny kitchen. Real moments from our real life together. Right side, Sophia's party. An absolute explosion of purple and silver. Enormous metallic balloon letters spelling out, "Congratulations, Sophia." A massive banner proclaiming "Rising Star" in glittering letters. Everything was loud and flashy and over the top in a way that screamed, "Look at me." It looked absolutely insane, like 2 completely different events had tried to occupy the same physical space, and both had stubbornly refused to back down. "This is absolutely bonkers," Olivia said, her camera already clicking away, documenting the surreal scene. "This is justice," Patricia corrected her with a small, satisfied smile. At 5:45 p.m., a car pulled into the venue's parking lot. Mom and Sophia got out. Mom was wearing an elaborate purple dress that clearly coordinated with Sophia's party theme. Her face went from normal to absolutely furious the instant she saw me standing there. She stormed across the venue space directly toward me. "What the hell do you think you're doing here?" "Having my engagement party," I said calmly. "Is there a problem?" "You canceled this party." "No, you canceled it. For me. Without my permission or consent. But I'm a 32-year-old woman with my own money, and I paid for my half of this venue. So I'm using it exactly as I originally planned." Sophia appeared behind Mom, looking stressed and uncomfortable in a tight silver dress. "Emma, this is absolutely ridiculous. Just move your stupid party to next weekend and stop being so— No, I said simply, firmly, and then turned back to arranging decorations, effectively dismissing them both. Mom grabbed my arm hard enough to leave marks. If you go through with this, you are out of this family. Do you understand me? Completely out. I looked down at her hand on my arm, then slowly back up at her face. Is that a promise or a threat? Because honestly, it sounds like a gift. She dropped my arm like I'd burned her, her face going from red to almost purple with rage. 6 p.m. Guests start arriving. It was beautiful, vindicating chaos. People were genuinely confused. About half of them had received Patricia's email with the journal excerpts. The other half hadn't. Some people had gotten invitations to both parties. Some had only gotten one or the other. I watched as Uncle Tom walked in, saw both party setups, and literally just stood in the exact middle of the venue looking completely lost and bewildered. Aunt Patricia arrived first to my side of the room, walking straight to me and pulling me into the tightest hug. "I'm so incredibly proud of you," she whispered fiercely in my ear. Jake's parents arrived next, Dave and Linda Anderson, genuinely kind and warm people who'd treated me like a beloved daughter from the moment Jake first introduced us. They hugged me, told me how beautiful everything looked, and very pointedly ignored the circus happening on the other side of the room. My side of the venue started filling up steadily with people, real people. People who actually cared about Jake and me as individual human beings, not as characters in some drama they were invested in. Sophia's side? It was notably sparse. Maybe 20 people total, and most of them looked deeply uncomfortable, like they weren't entirely sure they should even be there. I watched as Cousin David walked in, took a long, careful look at both party setups, and then very deliberately walked to my side. He gave me a big hug and whispered, "Always knew your mom was full of shit. Glad you finally figured it out, too." By 7 p.m., the divide was absolutely stark and impossible to ignore. My side was packed with people laughing and celebrating and genuinely enjoying themselves. Sophia's side looked like a sad, awkward corporate networking event where nobody actually wanted to be there. I could see Mom's face getting progressively redder as the evening went on, and more people chose my side over Sophia's. 7:30 p.m. Toast time. I walked up to the small stage area on my side of the venue and picked up the microphone. My hand was shaking slightly, but my voice came out steady and clear. "Thank you all so much for coming tonight to celebrate with Jake and me," I began. "I know this is definitely unconventional." There was some scattered, nervous laughter from the crowd. But I wanted to make a toast to truth. I could see Sophia and Mom stop their conversation on their side of the room and turn to look at me. "My father, Robert Richardson, taught me something really important before he died," I continued. "He taught me that real family, genuine family, is built on love. Not on manipulation, not on control, not on favoritism or conditional approval. Just love." I pulled out my phone with my free hand and connected it to the venue's speaker system. The sound system I'd specifically paid extra money to have access to for this exact purpose. "Some of you received an email from Aunt Patricia earlier this week with excerpts from my dad's personal journals," I said. "For those of you who didn't see that email, I want you to hear something. This is a recorded phone call between me and my mother from about a week ago." I pressed play. Mom's voice suddenly filled the entire venue, crystal clear through the professional speakers. "You're just like your father was. Weak. Overly sensitive. Always making everything about feelings instead of being practical." There were immediate, audible gasps from people in the crowd. "When the doctor came out and told me that your father's heart attack was fatal, that there was nothing they could do to save him, do you know what I felt? I felt relieved, Emma. Genuinely, truly relieved. Someone in the crowd said, "Oh my God," loudly enough to hear clearly over the recording. No more Mr. Sensitive constantly questioning my parenting. It's honestly been so much better without him around. I stopped the playback. The silence in the venue was absolutely deafening. Mom was standing completely frozen on her side of the room, her face drained entirely of color. "That," I said into the microphone, my voice steady and clear, "is my mother, Diane Richardson. The same woman who found the $47,000 my father had secretly saved specifically for me and spent every penny of it on my sister's master's degree instead. The same woman who lied to all of you about my relationship status in order to steal my engagement party for my sister. The same woman who has been systematically emotionally abusing me for my entire 32 years of life." Aunt Patricia was openly crying. Several other people in the crowd were crying too. Mom suddenly moved, storming toward my side of the room with fury written all over her face. "You bitch! How dare you?" "No," I said, and my voice was loud and firm through the microphone. "You don't get to call me names anymore. You don't get to make me feel small. You don't get to control the narrative about my life. I'm done. How dare you air our private family business in front of everyone? You aired my private business when you told everyone I was getting divorced." My voice rose slightly but stayed controlled. "You lied about me to manipulate a situation. You stole from me. You literally just admitted on that recording that you were relieved when Dad died." The entire venue was watching this unfold like a car crash they couldn't look away from. "He was weak!" Mom actually screamed it at the top of her lungs. "He was holding us back. He was babying you constantly. Everything I did was for this family's benefit." "You mean everything you did was for yourself?" I said quietly, but the microphone picked it up clearly. "I gave you life, Emma. I sacrificed everything to raise you." "You sacrificed absolutely nothing," I cut her off. "You killed my father." Complete and utter silence fell over the room. Every single person in the venue froze. Mom's face went from bright red to completely white in an instant. What did you just say?" But I didn't get a chance to answer, because at that exact moment, the security guards I'd hired stepped forward and very gently but very firmly began escorting Mom toward the exit as she started screaming at the top of her lungs. "This isn't over. You hear me? This isn't over. You'll regret this. You're nothing. You hear me? Nothing without me." The door closed behind her with a solid thunk, cutting off her screaming mid-sentence. Sophia was standing completely alone on her side of the venue now, mascara running in dark streaks down her face, surrounded by maybe 20 uncomfortable guests who were all staring at her with various expressions of shock and pity and judgment. I turned back to my side of the room, to the people who had actually shown up for me, who had chosen to stand with truth instead of comfortable lies. "I'm sorry you all had to witness that," I said, my voice softer now. "But I'm not sorry for finally telling the truth after 3 decades of silence. This party isn't about revenge. It's about freedom. It's about finally standing up for myself." I raised my champagne glass high. To truth, to love, and to the family we choose for ourselves. "To truth!" everyone shouted back, and the response was so loud and genuine and full of love that I actually started crying right there in front of everyone. We partied. We danced and laughed and celebrated like our lives depended on it. 11:30 p.m. End of the party. Most of the guests had gone home. It was just cleanup crew now. Me, Jake, Olivia, Patricia, and a handful of close friends helping to pack up decorations and leftover food. My phone had 47 missed calls from Mom. 23 unread text messages that I had absolutely no intention of ever reading. "How do you feel?" Patricia asked, helping me carefully pack up the framed photos of Dad. "Lighter," I said, and I meant it. Like I've been carrying around 1,000 pounds of weight and someone finally let me put it down. My phone buzzed with one more text from an unknown number. You ruined my entire life. I'll ruin yours. Watch your back. S. I showed it to Jake silently. She's just pissed off and lashing out, he said. But I could see the concern in his eyes. She can't actually do anything. But something deep in my gut told me this wasn't over yet. That Sophia didn't make empty threats. 3 days after the engagement party, I was sitting at my kitchen table drinking coffee when the article appeared on my phone screen. Portland woman's viral engagement party exposes family abuse. Someone at the party had recorded my speech and mom's audio recording. They'd posted it on TikTok. The video had 2.3 million views and counting. The comments section was overwhelming. This is exactly why I went no contact with my narcissistic mother 3 years ago. The way she said she was relieved when he died? I'm literally sick to my stomach. Emma is so incredibly brave for standing up to her abuser publicly like this. But there were other comments too. The ones that made my stomach churn. This seems fake TBH. Who records their own mother? There are always two sides to every story. Maybe Emma is the problem. Airing family drama publicly like this is trashy regardless of the circumstances. And then Sophia struck back. She created a burner Instagram account. I knew it was her because the writing style was identical. The username was at truth_about_Emma. The post read, "My sister Emma is a master manipulator who has been playing the victim her entire life. She edited that phone call to make our mother sound worse than she is. Our father favored Emma constantly, and it tore our family apart. She's a textbook narcissist who can't handle anyone else getting attention or success." Attached were screenshots of text conversations. Except they were clearly, obviously photoshopped if you looked closely. One showed a message from me, supposedly sent last Tuesday at 3 p.m., when I was literally scrubbed in on a surgery at the hospital. But people believed it anyway. Of course they did. My Instagram DMs flooded with hateful messages. "You're absolutely disgusting. Narcissists always play the victim card. I hope your fiancé realizes what you are and leaves you." I was sitting there shaking, reading comment after comment calling me a liar and a manipulator, when Jake came home from his hospital shift. He took one look at my face and immediately sat down next to me. "What happened?" I showed him my phone. He scrolled through the comments and posts, his jaw getting tighter and tighter with each new hateful message. "This is complete bullshit," he said firmly. "These screenshots are obviously fake. Anyone with half a brain can see that if they look closely." "But they're not looking closely, Jake," I said, my voice breaking. "They're just believing her. They think I'm the bad guy. Maybe I am. Maybe I shouldn't have played that recording publicly. Maybe I'm just as manipulative and terrible as she is." "Stop," Jake said, taking my face in his hands and forcing me to look at him. "Stop that right now. You are not your mother. You are not your sister. You told the truth and they're trying to twist it because that's exactly what abusers do when they get exposed. It's called DARVO." "DARVO? Deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender," he explained. "It's a classic abuse tactic. They're making you question your own reality because that's the only weapon they have left now that the truth is out." I leaned into him and started crying. Not pretty crying, but ugly, snotty, can't catch your breath crying. "I just want them to leave me alone," I sobbed. "I just want to marry you and be happy and forget they exist." "Then that's exactly what we'll do," he said firmly. 2 more weeks until the wedding. We get through this, we say our vows, and then we start our actual life together. Fuck everyone else. My phone rang. "Aunt Patricia," I answered on speaker. "Hey, Patricia." "Emma, honey, I need you to listen to me very carefully." Her voice was shaking in a way I'd never heard before. "I found something. In your dad's things. Something I should have found years ago, but I missed it. Can you come over right now? Both of you? This is important. 1 hour later. Patricia's house. She looked like she'd aged 10 years since I'd seen her just 3 days ago. On her coffee table sat a large manila envelope, yellowed with age. After your engagement party, I couldn't sleep, Patricia said, her hands trembling slightly. I kept thinking about what Diane said on that recording, about being relieved when Robert died. And I remembered something strange about the weeks before his death. What do you mean? I asked. Your dad complained about feeling wrong in the weeks before his heart attack. Dizzy spells, extreme fatigue. I remembered telling him to see his doctor, Dr. Harrison. I remember that too, I said quietly. He said it was just work stress. I was doing my nursing residency at the time, 12-hour night shifts, barely ever home. I should have checked his medications, but I was never there to notice anything wrong. He did see Dr. Harrison, Patricia continued, and Dr. Harrison changed his medication. She slid a piece of paper across the table. It was a prescription order. 3 months before your dad died, his heart medication was switched from lisinopril to verapamil. Jake picked up the paper, frowning as he read it. Verapamil is a calcium channel blocker. For someone with his specific cardiac history. He looked up, his face pale. This could have significantly increased his heart attack risk. Exactly, Patricia said. She pulled out a newspaper clipping, Dad's obituary. But there was more. A photo from the funeral. In the background, barely visible, was Mom talking to a man in an expensive suit. She was handing him an envelope. I had Olivia enhance the photo for me, Patricia said, showing us a larger, clearer version. The man's face was now clearly visible. Distinguished looking. Silver hair. Expensive suit. That's Dr. Harrison, I whispered. I did some research, Patricia continued. Dr. Harrison had his medical license permanently revoked in 2016, 1 year after Robert died, for accepting payments in exchange for unnecessary treatments and prescription changes. The room started spinning. Wait, Jake said slowly. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying Diane paid Dr. Harrison to change Robert's medication to something that would significantly increase his risk of a fatal heart attack. I literally couldn't breathe. My lungs refused to work. There's more, Patricia said, her hands shaking as she pulled out a bank statement. This is from Diane's personal checking account. 3 months before Robert died, there's a cash withdrawal for exactly $15,000. No explanation, no note. Oh my God, I heard myself say. I contacted Dr. Harrison's former nurse, Patricia continued. She agreed to talk to me off the record. She said that when your father came in for his appointment, Dr. Harrison told him the medication change was recommended by a family member who was concerned about his health. Your father assumed it was you, Emma, because you're a nurse. Everything went fuzzy and distant. My mother hadn't just emotionally abused me my entire life. She had murdered my father. Actually, literally murdered him. I'm taking all of this to the police tomorrow morning, Patricia said. But I wanted you to know first. The wedding is in 11 days, I said, my voice sounding strange and far away. Emma, you can't possibly be thinking, Jake started. She's going to show up, I interrupted. You know she will. She can't help herself. She needs to make it about her, needs to try to control the situation one more time. So we get a restraining order. No. I looked at both of them. I want her there. If we go to the police now, she'll get a lawyer immediately. She'll claim it was all a terrible mistake, that she was just trying to help Dad's health. She'll drag it out in court for years. And? Patricia asked carefully. And I want her to confess. Publicly. In front of witnesses. I want her to bury herself so deep that no lawyer in the world can dig her out. Jake stared at me. How are you going to get her to do that? I smiled, and I could feel how cold and hard it was. By giving her exactly what she wants, an audience, and the chance to make my wedding day all about her Willamette Valley Vineyard. 2:45 p.m. 15 minutes before the ceremony. I was in the bridal suite with Olivia and Patricia, putting the final touches on my makeup, when we heard the commotion outside. Through the window, I saw a car pull up. Mom got out, wearing white. An actual white dress to someone else's wedding. She looked furious and triumphant at the same time. Sophia was with her, uncomfortable in a tight purple dress. I took a deep breath and walked outside in my wedding dress to meet them. Emma, Mom said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. You look beautiful, sweetheart. We need to talk before you make the biggest mistake of your life. You're not supposed to be here, I said calmly. I'm your mother. I have every right. You have no rights. Not anymore. People were gathering around us now. Guests, wedding party, vendors, everyone watching. Perfect. I just want to have a conversation, Mom said, before you cut me out of your life permanently over some silly misunderstanding. Let's talk then, I said. Let's talk about Dad. Her face flickered. What about him? Let's talk about how he was planning to leave you, how he found out about the money you'd been stealing, how he was going to divorce you and take me with him. That's not. And let's talk about Dr. Harrison and the $15,000 you paid him and the medication change that killed Dad 3 months later. Mom's face went completely white. You can't prove. I have bank records, I said clearly, loudly enough for everyone to hear. I have the prescription change order. I have testimony from Dr. Harrison's nurse, and I have 2 police officers waiting right over there for you to confess. I gestured, and sure enough, 2 uniformed officers stepped forward from where they'd been waiting at the edge of the crowd. Patricia had called them this morning, asked them to be present in case there was a disturbance. Mom's face crumpled. He was going to leave me, she said, her voice breaking. He found out about the money. He was going to take you away from me. I couldn't let that happen. I just wanted him to get sick, to need me, to realize he couldn't leave. I didn't mean for him to actually die. But he did die, I said quietly. You killed him. The confession hung in the air. Everyone had heard it. It was over. The police officers stepped forward. Mrs. Richardson, we need you to come with us. As they led her away, she screamed back at me, You killed your father by being born! This is your fault! Even being arrested for murder, she was still trying to make it my fault. The police car drove away. Sophia stood there crying, then whispered, I didn't know. About Dad. I swear. But you knew about the money. You knew about the abuse. You helped her. I know, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to be better. I quit my job. I'm in therapy. I looked at her and felt only pity. I hope you find yourself. But I can't have you in my life right now. She nodded and left. 3:30 p.m. The ceremony. Patricia walked me down the aisle wearing Dad's watch. Jake was crying when he saw me. We said our vows. We promised to love each other. We kissed. We were married. 1 year later. Morning coffee. News notification. Diane Richardson sentenced to 12 years for voluntary manslaughter of husband, Robert Richardson. Prosecutors proved Richardson paid physician to alter medication, resulting in fatal heart attack. 12 years. Dad only got 55 years of life. Not enough. But something. 2 years later, grand opening day, I stood before 50 people at the Robert Richardson Foundation for Survivors of Narcissistic Abuse. Jake held our baby daughter Lily in the front row. Patricia cried happy tears next to him. My father was murdered by my mother, I began. But he left me tools to escape. Now I'm giving those tools to others. The foundation offered free therapy, legal aid, emergency housing for adult children of narcissistic parents. After the ceremony, a woman grabbed my hands. I went no contact 3 years ago. Still feel guilty every day. But hearing this, thank you. You're not alone, I said. None of us are. That night, rocking Lily to sleep, Jake found me. You did good today. Your dad would be proud. I hope so. I thought about Mom in prison. 8 more years minimum. I felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction. Just peace. She doesn't live in my head anymore. I'm free. Sunday morning, the cemetery. I stood at Dad's grave with white roses. Hey, Dad, we got her. 12 years in prison. I touched the cold headstone. The foundation helped 43 people so far. Named it after you. Tears fell. I have a daughter now, Lily, and I'm never going to make her feel invisible. I'm going to love her the way you loved me. I placed my hand on the stone one final time. We got her, Dad. We won. Jake and Lily waited by the car. He put his arm around me. You okay? Yeah, I really am. We drove home. For the first time since Dad died, I felt complete. Thank you for listening to Emma's story. If you've made it this far, thank you for taking the time to hear about her journey from being the invisible daughter to finally finding her voice and her freedom. Stories like Emma's matter because they remind us that we're not alone. If you saw yourself in any part of this story, if you've ever been the scapegoat, the forgotten one, the child who had to earn love instead of simply receiving it, please know that your feelings are valid. Your pain is real, and you deserve so much better. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you're helping us share more stories like Emma's, stories of survival, healing, and ultimately, freedom from toxic family dynamics. Hit that subscribe button, and if you want to share your own story or just need someone to listen, the comment section below is a safe space. We read every single comment. Remember, you are not too sensitive. You are not too dramatic. You are not too much. You are enough, and you deserve to be free. Thank you for being here. Until next time, take care of yourself.